The jet stream is tearing itself apart. Right now, this very second, the entire atmospheric engine that drives weather across North America is violently reorganizing, and what's coming in the next 7 days will rewrite February across half the continent. We're not talking about a storm. We're talking about a complete pattern demolition. Texas is about to face tornadoes. California is staring down an atmospheric fire hose that could dump 5 feet of snow in the mountains. The Midwest is sweating in temperatures that belong in April, while the East Coast braces for back-to-back winter bombs that could bury cities. And all of it, every single piece of this chaos, is connected to one thing. The jet stream just snapped. Let me show you what's actually happening up there, because this is where it gets terrifying. For weeks, the polar jet stream has been locked in place, a frozen river of wind screaming across the northern tier, keeping Arctic air bottled up in Canada and leaving the southern states unseasonably quiet. But that lock just broke. Satellite imagery from this morning shows the jet stream buckling, contorting into a massive omega block pattern that's forcing warm air north and cold air south in a violent atmospheric exchange. This isn't a gradual shift. This is a rupture. And when the jet stream moves this aggressively, it doesn't just change the weather. It weaponizes it. First impact zone, the south. And it's already beginning. A powerful low-pressure system is exploding across the southern plains right now, fed by Gulf moisture colliding with that destabilizing jet stream energy. By tomorrow afternoon, severe storms will ignite across Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi. We're talking supercells, rotating thunderstorms with the potential to drop tornadoes across a region that has absolutely no business seeing this kind of atmospheric violence in mid-February. The Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted a moderate risk zone stretching from Dallas to Shreveport to Jackson, Mississippi. That's not typical winter weather language. That's springtime tornado outbreak terminology happening in the dead of winter. And here's what makes this setup so dangerous. The shear. Wind shear is the difference in wind speed and direction at different altitudes, and right now it's off the charts. Surface winds are screaming in from the south at 30 to 40 miles per hour, pulling tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. But just 5,000 feet up, winds are ripping from the southwest at 70 miles per hour. That kind of shear creates rotation, creates structure, creates the exact environment where tornadoes don't just form, they intensify rapidly. We could see EF2, possibly EF3 tornadoes carving through neighborhoods with less than 10 minutes warning. Towns across East Texas and Louisiana need to have their weather radios on, their safe rooms identified, their phones charged. This is not a drill. But the tornado threat is only half the story in the south. The same system is going to unleash catastrophic rainfall. 1 to 3 inches is the baseline. But in some areas, particularly across eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and southern Arkansas, we're looking at isolated totals pushing 4 to 5 inches in less than 24 hours. Rivers are going to rise. Flash flooding is going to turn roads into rivers and low-lying areas into lakes. This is the kind of rain that doesn't just inconvenience, it destroys. It moves cars. It floods homes. Cuts off entire communities. And it's all being driven by that Gulf tap wide open, moisture streaming north like a fire hose pointed directly at the southern Mississippi Valley. Now pivot west, because while the south is drowning and dodging tornadoes, California is about to get absolutely pummeled by something even larger. An atmospheric river. Not a weak one. Not a glancing blow. A full force, Category 4 atmospheric river is going to slam into the west coast starting late this weekend and continuing through early next week. This is a moisture plume stretching over 1,000 miles from the tropical Pacific, carrying water vapor equivalent to several Mississippi rivers flowing through the sky. When it makes landfall, it's going to unload. The Bay Area, the Central Coast, the Sierra Nevada, everywhere in the path of this thing is going to see staggering precipitation totals. Coastal ranges could see 3 to 6 inches of rain, triggering mudslides in burn scar areas where wildfires stripped the hillsides bare just months ago. But it's the mountains where this atmospheric river is going to flex its full power. The Sierra Nevada is about to get buried. We're not talking about a foot of snow. We're not talking about 2 feet. We're talking about 60 to 80 inches of snow above 7,000 feet. That's 5 to nearly 7 feet of heavy, wet, back-breaking snow piling up on already weakened trees and power lines. Avalanche danger is going to spike to extreme. Mountain passes will close. Ski resorts will shut down not because of lack of snow but because there's too much of it coming too fast. And the winds. When you get an atmospheric river this strong colliding with the topography of California, you create a pressure gradient so tight it's like squeezing a balloon. Winds are going to howl across the entire West Coast, sustained at 30 to 50 miles per hour with gusts approaching 70 to 80 in the higher elevations and along exposed coastal areas. Power outages are inevitable. Trees will come down. And when you combine those winds with 5 feet of fresh snow in the mountains, you're looking at whiteout conditions that will make travel not just dangerous but impossible. But here's where this pattern gets truly bizarre. While California is drowning and Texas is dodging tornadoes, the center of the country is going to feel like spring arrived 3 months early. That jet stream buckle I mentioned earlier is creating a blowtorch effect across the central United States. Temperatures from Nebraska to Kansas to Oklahoma to Missouri are going to surge 30 to 40 degrees above normal. We're talking highs in the 70s and low 80s in mid-February. Omaha could hit 78 degrees. Wichita could push 82. These aren't just warm days. These are record-challenging, historically anomalous heat events happening in the middle of winter, while snow is literally falling in California and severe storms are tearing through the south. This is what extreme pattern shifts look like. This is what happens when the jet stream doesn't just meander but violently reorganizes. And the most unnerving part? This is just the beginning. Because next week, that same jet stream is going to shift again. And this time, it's bringing winter back to the places that forgot what cold feels like. 2 separate disturbances are lining up in the extended forecast, both with the potential to bring significant winter storms to the Midwest and Northeast. The first system arrives midweek, diving southeast out of Canada and tapping into lingering Gulf moisture. Depending on track and timing, we could be looking at heavy snow from Iowa to Illinois to Michigan, with potential for a wintry mix transitioning to all snow as colder air wraps in behind the system. Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee, all of them need to be watching this closely. But it's the second system, arriving late next week, that has the potential to be a real monster. Early model guidance suggests a powerful coastal low developing off the mid-Atlantic, a classic nor'easter setup that could bring heavy snow, freezing rain, and damaging winds to a corridor stretching from Washington, D.C. to New York to Boston. If the cold air arrives in time, if the storm track shifts just slightly west, we could be looking at a foot or more of snow in major metropolitan areas that have barely seen a flake all winter. And if the warm air holds on longer, then we're talking about a devastating ice storm, coating power lines and tree branches in inches of ice, snapping them under the weight and plunging millions into darkness. The uncertainty right now is maddening, but the pattern signal is crystal clear. February is about to become very, very active. That quiet, stagnant winter pattern that dominated January, it's gone. The jet stream is unlocked, energized, and it's going to keep throwing punches. Severe weather in the south, flooding rain and massive mountain snow in the west. Extreme warmth